Well, hello. It's Paul as ever, and I've got my podcast sidekick with me, Megan. The summer season's probably here for the podcast, but right away we've got Megan busy again. This time you're joining me for the digest.
Yes, yeah, so it's quite exciting this month. We've got a new focus. It's a new month, a new focus on some new data. So yeah, I'm excited to see what we've got to chat about today.
And it feels only fitting with you being, like me, a champion for first-time buyers. This episode we focus quite a bit on first-time buyers in the episode, don't we, Megan?
Yeah, we do. So today, this is really, if you're thinking about taking that first step onto the market, then this episode is definitely going to be for you. Just to kind of give a little overview of what we're going to be covering today. Something that a lot of first-time buyers, or we've spoken about a lot with first-time buyers over the last couple of years, was that double deposit. I remember there was a BBC News article, wasn't there, Paul, about this thing called a double deposit, which, for anyone who doesn't know what that term means, the first half of that double deposit was for your mortgage deposit. So it would be your 5, 10, 15%, however much you're putting down to the bank or your mortgage lender, and then the other half of that deposit would be used to kind of bid over the home report, because in Scotland you have anything that you pay over the home report has to be in cash or money that you have in your bank account to pay with. So we wanted to talk a bit more about that statistic, how that's changing. Paul, I mean, you know a lot about how that offers over home report valuation is looking just now.
Yeah, we should say it's changing for the better. I suppose it depends which side of the coin you're on. If you're a seller, potentially not going to get quite as much, but if you're then buying, you're going to make a bit of a saving. And if you're first time to the market, as I say, things may be a little bit more achievable. And again, we're going to also walk you through the best areas for first time buyers. Some surprises in there, Megan, gotta say.
Yes, there is.
Yeah, I thought that was a good bit of analysis. So we'll be looking at I think it's the top 10, isn't it? Is it top 10? We got some top 10s, and we.
Yeah, but I think there's 10. Yeah, 10.
Yeah, in fact, yeah, we've got plenty. So we'll have a look at those, and then we've got some little tips at the end for first-time buyers. So I think we should get started.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so the first thing that we were going to look at, Paul, I don't know if you want to talk us through this. We looked at the data from the last 6 months, and these are just some of the top line stats for first-time buyer kind of focus things that we're going to be talking about today.
Yeah, and I think we're making a difference there between ESPC overall, the entire market, and then we've put underneath under 250,000, and we know 250,000 is a lot for some first-time buyers, a lot for anyone, but we had to draw the line somewhere to really illustrate the point here. So if we just start at the top there, as you can see, 101.8%, that's cooled slightly from where it was last year, down 1.2%. The average selling price sits at 273,000. Just over. I think it's then interesting when we look at under the 250,000, we're seeing that there's a little bit more of a premium being paid, but these are relatively small amounts. I think, as Megan, you were saying earlier, that the 105, 108, 110, 120% of the home report value, that we're seeing less of them. That certainly feel like it's cooled, and we've used this phrase a lot. We're entering a more balanced market, this year than the last couple of years, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what we can see from this is that it is a good time for first-time buyers to enter the market. As you said, that is cooled for a long way from a couple of years ago where we were seeing massive premiums. And a lot of this is also down to just it's not a recorrection in pricing, but almost a re-evaluation of how the surveyors are doing those home reports, and they're taking into account those premiums that were paid and adjusting the valuation kind of accordingly. We're seeing that across a lot of areas.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as well, just the sentiment at the moment, as we've said all along, that there is more choice out there. We were on a call with the Bank of England this morning. We give them sort of feedback on what's happening in the property market. And I think the general view, from ourselves and from others that were on the call, is that, people recognise that the interest rates aren't going to probably fall as fast as maybe they went up. But, we are in a bit of a stable period. The next move on interest rates should be downwards. Still a huge debate when that is. I'm giving up on predictions now, especially about the future, because I got it wrong I said it was going to be in June, and here we are. We didn't. I think I said May actually. So we'll see when the
Yeah.
next there's a review later in this week. By the time this comes out, Megan will know if there's been a
Yeah, I
reduction.
know.
But we are saying it's about a 10% likelihood. So the chances are that the decision will be rolled over to at least August now before we see any change there, if at all. But I think for first-time buyers, the message is clear. You know, the environment is fairly stable. You know where you are, and it's all about affordability. And well, we'll get onto the tips later, who they should talk to about getting advice on that.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll just move on to the next slide. And this is our kind
Here
of
we
top
go.
areas. So these are areas, again, as Paul said, we wanted to draw the line somewhere and use, you know, proper areas that were had average selling prices that were maybe more first-time buyer friendly, slightly more affordable. We have spoken to some of our member firms who have first-time buyers who have a budget of 400,000, but we know that that's not the majority, so that's why we've decided to cap it at 250. So yeah, these are 10 areas that all have average selling prices. So this is across all different property types. The average selling price in these areas varies from £136,782 in Glenrothes, right the way up to Easter Road. If you want to stay near, nearer the city, 211,751, and lots of different areas in between those two, isn't there, Paul?
Yes, there is, and I think the interesting thing is here, all the properties on the top shelf there, they are all under what we call the zero threshold for LBTT. So, you know, that's 175,000. So you wouldn't be paying LBTT on that if you were a first-time buyer. So no tax to pay on your purchase.
Absolutely. And just in case anybody's looking at this and doesn't know where any of these areas are, some of these are quite near the city centre, quite good for accessibility. We've got Gorgie and Sight Hill just to the west of the city. We've got Granton just near Newhaven, which is where the new tram has gone to. Wrestlerig, which is quite near Leith, and Easter Road as well, which sits near Leith as well. So if you don't have a lot of these areas that we're going to talk about are situated a little bit further out. The further you get from the city, the kind of more affordable prices can get. But there are still some deals to be had near the city centre as well.
Definitely. I mean, I've no idea how many, but there must be a lot of buses that go to Wrestlerig because I always see that on buses. I always see that name.
Yeah, I know. Right, so we'll go on to the next slide, which is again, it's a 10 different areas, and these are areas that have an average selling price under 250,000, but these are for 2-bedroom homes. So that typically tends to be the property type that we see first-time buyers go for, a 2-bedroom. It's a little bit more space than 1-bedroom, but not heading towards that kind of family home size. So yeah, these are some different areas. Again, a real variety over our regions. We've got some Mid Lothian, some Fife, some East Lothian in there with Musselburgh, and then some other kind of more central to the city areas too. But again, some deals under the LBTT threshold in Dunfermline and Tranent, and yeah, even places like Leith. Oh, which we love to talk about Leith.
Yeah, we did talk about Leith. Yeah, absolutely. I know, as you say, for a 2-bedroom one there, you're coming in at 243. But I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? Because as you say, just moving a little bit further out, like the likes of Fife and Dunfermline there, that significantly reduction there, isn't it? Just put it into context.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, you're seeing, more than £100,000 difference between Dunfermline and Leith, and both really popular areas on ESPC.com too. And I know we'll talk more about Musselburgh in the future slides, but yeah, that's also been a really popular area because it's East Lothian market, but also quite reasonably close to the city and quite easy for transport links back in. So yeah, I think that's hopefully if you're looking, this is useful to just see and take a screenshot and have a little search on ESPC about what kind of properties you can get there.
Yeah, you'd be surprised. Some good ranges out there at the moment.
Okay, so Paul, I don't know if you want to talk us through the premium that's being paid. We spoke about that at the start there, but yeah, do you want to chat us through this?
Yeah. So as Megan explained earlier, when we talk about premium, that's the percentage over the home report that you're paying. And here we're talking about the percentage under the home report that you're paying in some areas. And again, like everything in property, it really does come down to supply and demand. So if there's an oversupply and there's more choice, potentially you get yourself a bit more of a bargain. When there's less demand, and clearly some of the outlying areas there's a little bit more supply, maybe not quite balanced with demand there, and we can see. And Hoik features on there for first-time buyers. Now there's a real diverse market there. We're having a quick look on the SPC, and there's properties at over 800 and 650, and here we are at the slightly lower end, the better value end. There's first-time buyers properties, generally flats, but you can certainly pick something up for, as we say there, the average selling price 147, and the premium isn't there. You're actually well below the home report valuation at 92.9% on average in the last 6 months. So that's an interesting one.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I think with all of these areas, we'll see that if you take a little bit of a step, a bit of a step out of the Edinburgh bubble, you can get some good, a good deal. And things like Glenrothes as well, sitting closer to that 100% at 98.5, but a much lower average selling price as well, 136,000, which is good to see. And then Coldstream again in the Scottish Borders, along with Duns. And then Roseburn, our only city centre.
Indeed, yeah, absolutely. That's within the sort of city bypass, really, isn't it? So that's the difference, really. And as you can see, there was a slight increase there in terms of what you are paying, and also the average selling price as well. But yeah, I think Borders, if you haven't, it's probably worth considering. I think we've said this before. We've talked about Fife and the Borders as two areas that sometimes for first-time buyers. In fact, we've had plenty of people from the business, haven't we, from ESPC that have relocated to these areas. So it probably says something.
Absolutely, and as we've been to quite a few places for the podcast as well, the Borders and up in Fife, and they're lovely areas, lovely, nice, more rural towns and things. But we really liked them when we went, and so it's worth having a look at these places as well if you're looking to maybe get something under home report valuation.
Yeah.
So the opposite of that, what we're going to talk about is if you're looking in some of these areas, you maybe just have to save a little bit more, have a little bit more in your pot. So this is just the average that you're seeing, that we're seeing properties sell for across the areas. But yeah, Paul, I'll let you chat through this as well.
Yeah, and we'll make this point as we should have done with the previous slide. This is really just the average. So this does mean that every single property, that's what you're going to be paying. This is just what they average out. So clearly some have gone for lower, but also some have gone for higher. And, generally what we're trying to do is take a data sample that's meaningful, isn't it? Because if there was only 2 properties that sold in Musselburgh, it could be massively distorted. So there's a good number of properties here that we're looking at, and that's where the averages come from. But clearly Musselburgh is attracting the most premium there, as we say. Collinton Mains, Brunston, Rosyth, and then Drylaw. But yeah, all areas where generally you would expect to pay a premium.
And yes, this is again, as Paul said, these are just 5 of the kind of areas that stood out to us. This isn't the only place that you have to pay a premium. We're talking about averages and just some places that we would like to flag. If you're a first-time buyer and you don't really know where to start, here are just some useful stats to help you. So I guess if you are a first-time buyer and you're watching this, we thought that you might want to know some tips about the first few things that you should do before really starting your journey. And so Paul, I don't know if you want to talk us through our first tip.
This is the go early advice lot, isn't it, really? It's maybe we should have that as a strap line every time. It really is. Talk to your solicitor estate agent. Very important to do that early as you can in the process, really. And they know the market. They'll know how to submit an offer for you, and they'll give you guidance on what to submit the offer at. And also, just they'll talk to you about what's happening in the market, because our solicitor estate agents are in the market every day. They're offering, or they're buying, or they're selling for people, so they know exactly what you should be paying. And I think they're just there sometimes as the voice of reason, so you don't get too carried away. I think that's the case often.
Absolutely. I remember when we were buying our flat, your solicitor estate agent is really there to kind of hold your hand through the process, talk you through everything. And as you said, Paul, they're experts in their field. They've got access to all of the ESPC data too. So everything that we're telling you in this PowerPoint, they can see some of these stats as well. And also, just it's important to note, because I know a lot of first-time buyers are worried about solicitor costs and things. Any ESPC solicitor estate agent should be providing you with a quote up front, and then you don't have to make payment until you have purchased your purchased your property. It's not a case of you have to pay after every offer. You can make as many offers as you need to until you've secured your dream home.
Absolutely, yeah. And then, or even simultaneously, get a mortgage. Get some advice on your mortgage. And, as we were saying earlier there with the Bank of England and that debate between should I go for a fixed rate mortgage, this is not financial advice, or a flexible mortgage. They're the sort of questions, that's probably the most popular question I would imagine that our mortgage advisors get asked all the time, what to do. Is it certainty, or do you take a chance that the interest rates are coming down and therefore perhaps you're better with a variable rate? But, we're not here to give that advice, but our mortgage advisors are.
Yeah, so yeah, we've got a team of great mortgage advisors at ESPC. They'll be able to meet with you, right at the start of the journey. They'll ask you some questions about your finances and help you gauge what you can afford, how much your monthly payments will be on a mortgage, and help you get a mortgage in principle. So yeah, it's really important to get that as well before you start. Well, you don't have to, but we always recommend that if you have a mortgage in principle, it's a great tool to have to kind of, or a card in your hand to play when you're putting offers in, because it just really proves to sellers that you have the access to the funds that are needed to go ahead with the sale.
Definitely, and it gives you more confidence, and you'll know where you are with your budget. And again, if you're talking to the ESPC solicitor estate agent, they will also have their own mortgage advisors that they work hand in glove with. So, as I say, as long as you're seeking that advice early, we would strongly recommend doing that. Go early, as I say, is the key advice here today.
Absolutely, and we couldn't give advice to first-time buyers without recommending that these ESPC.
Absolutely.
So one of the tools that we have at ESPC is myESPC, where you can create your own account. You can set up property alerts, so put in your dream criteria, whether that's 2-bedroom flat or 5-bedroom mansion, whatever you're looking for. You can pop that into our filters, and then you'll get emailed if a property meets that criteria and comes to market. You'll be notified straight away. You can also watch list properties, so if you like a property, you can watch list it, and you'll be updated if anything changes on that property. And you'll also get our ESPC weekly newsletter, which has all of our latest news and advice, just like the ESPC Digest.
Indeed, and we should also say we know where all the good stuff is, because 80% of properties that are listed with ESPC you'll find on ESPC.com 3 days before they appear on any other portal. So it really is the place to start your search. If you're serious about buying a property, it's a specific area, get on myESPC. You're going to find it there. You're going to get the alert for it, and you go and view it before it's even on some of those other portals, and be one of the people who download home reports. 55,000 home reports downloaded on a monthly basis. So, lots of good content in there about the property as well that you might be interested in, and easily accessible via ESPC.com.
Yeah, absolutely. So hopefully that was useful to everybody. That's our kind of first-time buyer update on the current market. Hopefully it gives you some guidance on how much you maybe have to bid over or at the home report value for some properties, and give you an idea of some areas that might be more affordable, and areas to maybe plug into ESPC.com and see what kind of properties are available there too.
Yeah, and certainly one of the things that we've heard about quite a bit, isn't it, Megan, in the show this year, is in the various shows we've done, is the number of good news stories where ultimately the first-time buyer's been successful. So if at first you don't succeed, just keep going, because as I say, there's been lots of great stories about people ultimately being able to find their dream home. And as my mum would say, what's meant for you? What's the second half, Megan?
Won't go by you.
There you go.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're looking for any more advice, you can find it on ESPC.com under the news tab. We've got our monthly house price report. We've got our most popular homes from May. We've also got our podcast on there. So yeah, lots of things to do. And you can also search for a solicitor estate agent under the agents tab too, if you're looking to find a solicitor.
Brilliant. But thanks for listening. We hope you get some value out of that, and it's maybe made you think about areas you might not have thought about before. And yeah, remember, go early.